Eruv means to mix together. Here it's a mixture, we're all one family.
It's a community Eruv. The responsibility falls on all of us to make sure that the Eruv is kosher, is viable each and every week.
The Eruv is one of the most unheralded, important institutions that we have in the city.
The people who do not understand it think that it's just a illogical and in some ways meaningless piece of string that's running around the community.
I had one woman, she thought going under the Eruv, she's going to get converted.
My wife and I were walking on the beach path and someone came over to me and said, "Look, they expanded the Eruv." And I said, "Who's they?" And he said, "I don't know, the Eruv people."
By having the Eruv, so many sins are being avoided.
It just opened up the entire city. It made it easy for tourists to come to the hotels and then to be able to walk on the boardwalks and to go visit other people.
If we didn't have it, people would go elsewhere.
Shabbos wouldn't be the same if we didn't take our children to shul and join together with our friends.
Very young need a carriage, very old need a wheelchair. It releases them from the bondage of their house.
I look at it as something that exemplifies the religious freedoms that our country has.
I grew up in Miami Beach way back in the 60s and the 70s when there was no Eruv in the community. So between me and my three sisters, there was always one of us that needed to stay home and help my mom watch the little ones while everybody else went to shul. That was life.
I remember walking the streets of Miami Beach to Beth Jacob from 1954 until 1986 when the Eruv was finally commissioned. And my parents and my mother always being very careful to make sure that we didn't carry a ball, a book, or anything on the Sabbath.
Growing up in a city without an Eruv, you couldn't carry. I guess that time we thought that was normal. So we didn't think that it could be better.
Go away on vacation somewhere where they don't have an Eruv and then see what it is, because I've done that. And I felt trapped. I was like, oh, we are spoiled. We don't even think twice. The Eruv's there.
When I first came here 55 years ago, the Orthodox community was very small. 10 and 20 years later, it increased greatly. That's when they felt the need, and they felt also there's enough demand for an Eruv.
I can't imagine it was easy, because nothing that involves government and religion is ever easy. But knowing Rabbi Stern and knowing Judge Cement, they took a difficult task and they charged forward.
About 3 weeks after I got elected, I had a visit from a Rabbi Tibor Stern. He said, "You weren't elected because you're a good-looking guy. You were elected because you're here to accomplish something." I said, "What is that?" He says, "You're going to bring an Eruv to the city of Miami Beach." 3 or 4 months later, I was approached by the members of the union. They asked for raises, they asked for pension benefits. I said to them, "Fellas, I want to help you, but every single thing you do for the city of Miami Beach, you get paid for. Have you ever done anything where you didn't get paid? Where you did something as a community service? What do you want us to do?" I said, "Well, let me give you an idea. There is a community in this city that requires an Eruv. You never heard of it, but let me tell you what it is. You need cherry-picking trucks to get over the waterways, the bridges, and what have you. Wouldn't it be nice if you guys provided the labor to run those trucks? It would attract tens of thousands of people who can't come to this city because you don't have an Eruv. Well, if that's what it takes to get your cooperation, we'll provide the labor." I said, "Well, I'll see to the city contributing the trucks, and the community will provide the manpower."
Right before Rosh Hashanah, I was called by Tibor Stern, who asked me to please come and attend the Kinyan the contract to convert the public domain to a private domain. I remember the meeting with the formation with all the Rebbeim coming together, and I remember the lay leaders who were there, Joe Rackman, Joe Finkelstein, and myself. And I can only tell you how great Rabbi Weberman was, because he stepped up to the plate to take the responsibility, as well as being selected by all of the other Rebbeim to be the spokesman.
It was always a dream of my father to have an Eruv. In fact, he told me that in 1950 he wrote a letter to the Lubavitcher Rebbe asking him, so that must have been the seed that planted.
I was the president of the Orthodox Rabbinical Council, and they put that burden on me. So I got a hold with Rabbi Avram Feuer. We reviewed and studied all the complex laws of Eruv together. We also enlisted the assistance of many of the great leaders who used to come here for the winter. We went with Moshe Feinstein, and we drove through the whole area, and many other the great Rosh Yeshivas or rabbinical leaders, Rabbi Kamenetsky, the Satmar Rebbe, the Bobov Rebbe, all the other Kapishnitzar Rebbes, all the greats. They all used to come here, spend their winters here. We just took advantage of discussing and getting many heads together. Then we surveyed it. That's how we came to the proper design.
The Eruv was announced right before Rosh Hashanah, which came out on a Shabbos. I remember hiring originally Rabbi Blank and Rabbi Spitz, who took on the responsibility to be the showmares, to check the Eruv every week.
We started from 23rd to 63rd. Now we have all of Miami Beach, all of Surfside, all of Bal Harbor and Bay Harbor, North Bay Village, all included as one Eruv. North Miami Beach came up together with ours, but now we have an Aventura in Sunny Isles, Hallandale, Hollywood.
I was probably the first Orthodox mayor ever elected in the United States to a major city, and then to have the privilege of bringing about an Eruv, to me, some higher power was directing this whole scenario, otherwise it could never have taken place.
Running around, scrambling, putting it on the message, yes, the Eruv's kosher. It's a full-time job keeping that Eruv up and running and kosher.
Every Friday, every inch of this area is inspected.
There's thousands of hours of volunteer time that goes into it.
Strings and the poles we have to maintain, and we do preventive maintenance. Also, there's a lot of construction going on. There's some have to make changes, redesign it.
They have engineers and architects, very learned rabbis, attorneys educated to the rights of the Eruv Council.
Not many people realize that the Eruv has been challenged in many communities in federal court.
A lot of people do take it for granted, myself included, when we're just walk out of our house carrying, or we take our baby in a stroller to a neighbor's house. But once it's not there, boy, trust me, it's people notice. Without the Eruv, it's very hard to have a functioning city.
An event of vandalism, God forbid, or destruction occurs, or even a storm comes through, it affects the entire community.
So what is the significance of this string, which has obviously been taken down?
I find it disgusting that people would damage an Eruv just for no apparent reason.
I hope somebody did it not knowing what it was about, but if it's not the case, it's a real tragedy.
Every week, people have to be out there physically checking the Eruv.
We're going to use this fence as our guide, and we're going to cut all the way to the top, 3 feet in.
Making sure that things like trees and bushes and other sort of shrubbery aren't interfering with it.
The goal is to trim it back so that there's enough of a leeway between the line and the vegetation so that it doesn't get knocked down or broken. And everybody's happy.
And there's constantly work happening. And sometimes those trucks, the crews, the equipment that's out there do interfere with the Eruv and take it down.
Yeah, it's spot here.
The other component is expansion. When you're taking the existing Eruv boundaries and expanding it, as we did in Surfside and Bell Harbor, out onto the beach paths, you encounter all types of difficulties, government approvals, why it's illegally permitted, and what the impact of the Eruv is going to be from an expansion perspective on the community.
The Eruv is a huge benefit to the Jewish community, but to the entire community, because it is a destination for the entire world.
Young families can push strollers on Shabbos to their friends, to the shul, and that's a real positive point to a young family that's evaluating communities in terms of where they want to move to.
It was a great factor for Orthodox people who were coming down from other parts of the country and other parts of the world, coming to a city and knowing they could carry. It was a big benefit, I think, to bringing people to the city, keep people coming back. It was great for business too.
You've got constant development of hotels, and the people who are coming want to be sure that they can enjoy the full litany of things that are available to them in this beautiful area. And that includes being able to go out onto the beach path, go out onto the boardwalk, and make full use of them. But to do that, you need to have an Eruv.
Tourists who flock to Miami Beach really look forward to having an Eruv within the city so they can bring their children, their grandchildren. They could be accommodated whether they stay in a hotel in Miami Beach or the condominiums, and they could walk on Shabbos.
The Eruv has been a great economic engine for all of South Florida.
It does help increase the value of properties, because what Orthodox Jew would not want to go to an area that is serviced by a community Eruv.
Hotel, apartment operators are benefiting from the fact that Jewish people are coming down and staying in those facilities. A lot of people wouldn't buy condos down here if they knew that there was no Eruv for them to benefit from.
It does not impose anything on anyone. It's practically invisible, and it certainly improved the quality of life.
Today, as I walk on Shabbos, I cannot tell you how many people I see pushing baby carriages, carrying Gemoras. All of this has now, with the Eruv, been made possible.
I think that everybody would agree that it is one of the most worthwhile causes that needs to be supported in the city.
The Eruv needs capital. The Eruv has increased expenses. They have to do further repairs and modifications. Without the support by each of us, it's not going to happen.
You're creating a trust, ensuring that the Eruv is always there. Shabbos comes every week. At the end of the week, thank God it's always there.
Some people are not committed enough to the observance of Shabbos, and with this Eruv, we prevent them from violating the Shabbos. A very great thing.
The Eruv allows synagogues to flourish, schools to stay within the area.
Even if you say you don't carry, it brings your community together, and that is what the Jewish people are all about.
An Eruv in the Jewish community is an amazing, wonderful thing for a community to have, but it doesn't just happen.
This is a responsibility that each of us have, but it's also the opportunity to come together as a group, as a family.
You're like a role model and a symbol of the Miami Beach community, and you make our community what it is.
It is building the future for our children, our grandchildren, so please give generously.